Stepmom decides to celebrate my birthday by taking the entire family on a vacation only to inform me last minute that she forgot to book tickets for me, but when I sent her a photo of the return gift I had in store for her to thank her for her wonderful surprise. She's scrambling now to get me emergency tickets to join the family because she didn't expect I'd do this. I, 17, female, have never really gotten along well with my stepmom. Let's call her Emily. And I think I can say the same for her. She doesn't like me much either. That's always been very clear. Unfortunately, for the past 2 years, we have been forced to live under the same roof because my mom passed away a couple of years back. And since then, I've been staying with my dad. My parents got divorced when I was 8 years old. And when I was 12, he started dating Emily. A year and a half later, they got married. And in the beginning, I was fine with her. But slowly, she started getting on my nerves. Because in all honesty, it always felt like she wasn't secure of me and my mom. She never liked it when I was around. And at my birthday parties, she would make it a point to sit in a corner and just make faces. She was generally unpleasant around me. But it was like a switch turned on whenever my father was around and she started acting like we were best friends. Naturally, I never liked her. I could tell she was fake. And I even tried to tell my father about it, but he never bought it. He just thought that I was upset about the fact that I had a new person in my life to deal with. And since I was a teenager, he took me even less seriously because according to him, I was just acting out. My mom didn't like her either for the same reason. But unlike my father, she actually believed everything I told her. Anyway, it doesn't matter because eventually, she was diagnosed with cancer. And by the time we found out, it was already too late to do anything. So we lost her. That was that. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I hate my father or anything. I do love him. But it's just that he can be quite frustrating to deal with at times because he never takes me seriously. And the fact that he's so diplomatic when it comes to me, and Emily also gets on my nerves because in the past 2 years, he has refused to try to sort out any issues that we might have. He never gets involved. I can understand he doesn't want to add to the drama or anything. But it's just annoying because the petty fights and arguments that Emily and I have had have never been my fault. She's just way too overbearing. She tried to control me all the time. And for some reason, she seems to think that now that my mom's gone, she can take over that role in my life, which is never going to happen because I'm already too old for that. Like I said, I don't like her. Anyway, she keeps trying to boss me around, which inevitably always ends in a fight. And my dad refuses to get involved. He tells us to sort it out on our own. And that's how the bad blood has just been building up for almost 2 years now. And recently, what she did around the time of my birthday was just a cherry on top for me. A couple of days back, I turned 17. And 2 days before my birthday, Emily announced that she had booked tickets for everyone in the family. So we could all take a 5-day trip to Mykonos to celebrate my birthday. She knows that I love the water and Mykonos has literally been my dream destination for years. So I was pretty excited. But I was also kind of skeptical because it was quite unlike her to do something so nice for me. It wasn't that she couldn't afford it or anything. She's quite successful in her career. And so is my dad. But for her to spend so much money to sponsor a trip for me, my father and herself and my paternal aunt and her kids, who I'm very close to. That's just very weird, because it was quite a lot of money since she was planning on making it a luxury trip. So I would have a lot of fun. She said that everything had already been planned. And she wanted to surprise me with this because she knew I had been having a lot of trouble adjusting to my life without my mom. That's why she had also been having a lot of trouble with me. But now she wanted to put it all behind us so that we could have a fresh start and get along well. Basically, this was an olive branch, a gesture to bring us closer. And I really appreciated that. At that time, I didn't really suspect anything. And I told her that I was really thankful that she had done something so nice for me. I was very happy, but it didn't last long because she burst my bubble on the morning of my birthday itself. So here's the deal. The day before my birthday, I decided to have a sleepover with a couple of my friends, since I wouldn't be able to spend the day with them like I had planned, because we had a flight to catch in the evening. I had it at my house. And in the morning, we were all watching a movie together when one of my friends started feeling seriously sick. At that time, nobody was at home since both my dad and Emily had gone out for work. They had planned to come back home early so that we could all leave for the airport on time. But my friend was feeling extremely nauseated and had a horrible headache. So I decided to ask my dad what I could do for her. I had already checked the medicine cabinet, and I couldn't see anything that would help her out. But my dad told me that Emily usually has some pills to help her with migraines since she gets them quite often. So he told me to check in her closet because that's where she usually keeps them. So I went ahead and started searching for it. And that was when I found something else that I had been looking for a pretty long time. The thing is, Emily's closet was pretty well organized, but I couldn't find her medicine box that my dad had described to me. So I had to reach pretty far back. And right at the back, hidden from view, I found my mom's jewelry box that I thought had been stolen after her funeral. It was at the back of the cupboard under a bunch of folded clothes that she never really wears. And nobody would be able to find it unless they were looking for something like that. Honestly, it came as a shock to me because I had never even imagined that she would be capable of doing something like this. Because I remember that while I was moving into my dad's house on a permanent basis, because before that, I used to split my time between my parents, I thought that I had either lost it or the box had been stolen. And I had been very upset about it because I knew that my mom's jewelry was very special to her. And I felt responsible for the fact that it had gone missing all of a sudden. I honestly wouldn't even be able to pinpoint when exactly it went missing because obviously, that was a very difficult time for me. And her jewelry box was not a top priority at that point. I just remember that after the sale of my mom's house was done and I was moving, I realized that I couldn't find that box anywhere. And when I thought back on it, I realized I hadn't even seen it since the funeral. And that was strange because my mom always kept it in one of her dressing table drawers. I searched for it everywhere. I searched the entire house and I couldn't find it. And even after I moved, I searched my dad's entire house and I still couldn't find it. And ultimately, my father and I came to the conclusion that it must have been lost or stolen during the funeral. And that was that. We could have gone in depth about it. But at that point in time, I was really not in a state of mind because I was just so miserable and exhausted without her. So when I found it in Emily's closet, I knew without a shadow of doubt that it had to be her because I couldn't imagine anybody else letting me be miserable for so long without speaking a word. She was that heartless and I knew that now. Obviously, I told my friends about it and they confirmed what I already believed. That it must have been she who had stolen the box at some point and had kept it to herself. Probably just to make me upset. And I was quite put out after that. So my friends left and I was left home alone waiting for my dad and Emily to come back home so I could confront her about what I had found. But before I could do that, just about an hour after I found the box in her closet, Emily texted me and said she had accidentally only booked 5 tickets. She said that it had been a mistake but now there were no more seats on the flight and she had already checked and requested them. But the airline couldn't help it. So now what she was telling me was that I would have to skip my own birthday trip because she accidentally made a mistake like this, which I obviously don't buy because it was clearly intentional. She said that if I wanted she could put me on the next flight, but that was not until 2 more days since most of the flights had been pre-booked for the vacation season, and there was no point in getting there 2 days later because I would only get 3 days instead of 5. So now it was my choice whether I wanted to go at all or not. But one thing was clear, I would have to sit out this flight, and her logic was that even though it was my birthday she had already promised my aunt and her kids that they were going, and since they were our guests she couldn't snub them. But I knew for a fact that if they knew what the situation was, my aunt would definitely not have minded stepping aside because I know how much she loves me. And I know my cousins wouldn't mind either, and she said that she had paid for the trip and everything. It didn't seem fair that she wouldn't be able to go. And as for my father, he had been working really hard and she wanted to give him an opportunity to relax, so it wouldn't be fair to exclude him either. It was pretty evident that she was just making up reasons so that I would have to stay behind. By then I could tell this had been her plan all along, to give me false hope and then treat me like this just to make herself feel superior and teach me. I didn't know how my father was going to react to this, but I didn't even care at that point in time because after I had found the box, that was all I had on my mind. And the whole situation with the birthday trip and the tickets just added fuel to the fire. And a couple of minutes later I just took a picture of the box after keeping it back exactly where I had found it and sent that photo to her, and for good measure just to make it clear that I knew what she was up to. I sent her a message saying that I had already prepared the return gift for her and now I was waiting for her to come home so she could get it. Within seconds she started trying to call me, and when I didn't pick up she started typing and told me that she was definitely going to try her best to get me emergency tickets and all I had to do was just hold on. She told me to keep the box aside and that we could discuss it later after we had all come back from the trip, but I didn't care. I just blocked her and then I sat home and waited. I didn't even call my dad because the more I thought about it the more furious I was at him for never having intervened before. Anyway, 2 hours later my dad came back home, but Emily was nowhere to be seen, even though it had been agreed upon beforehand that both of them would try to make it home before 4 so we could quickly make our way to the airport, since my dad likes to be there before time. But whatever, at least he was home, and as soon as he was back I just let the dam burst. I was already quite frustrated with him and it had been building up for 2 years, so I told him everything that I thought of Emily, about how horrible of a person she was, how he had let me down by never intervening, by never taking me seriously and never standing up for me against Emily, always trying to be so diplomatic just to preserve a relationship with a person who hates his own daughter. Then I told him all about the box, where I had found it, and how his wife had never said a word about it until I found it. In fact, I remember that when we were searching for it, I had even asked if I could search her belongings just in case it had landed up there by mistake, and she had said that it was rude and insulting that I had thought of doing something like that, and she accused me of insinuating that she was a thief, and said that just because my mom had passed away recently, didn't mean that I could get away with saying whatever I wanted to, and then gave me a whole lecture about how she could afford everything that she wanted, and she didn't need to steal, so whatever I was implying was very disrespectful, so that's why I dropped it after that. Even back then my dad had nothing to say, he just said that she had a point and we had to respect her privacy. If we had gone through her stuff back then I would have found this box a lot earlier. Anyway, that was not even the point. The point was that he had never stood up for me, and now Emily's reality was out there, and now he had to make a choice whether it was going to be me or her, because it was evident that she would stop at nothing to hurt me. And then I told him all about the birthday trip and the tickets and everything as well. I even showed him the text and I asked him what he wanted to do. Of course he was quite taken back. He didn't see any of this coming, and now he finally had to take a stand. He started off by apologizing to me, and he just told me that he needed some time to process all of this, but even then he was really sorry for never taking me seriously, and for making me feel this way, for letting me down, and said that he was going to do everything in his power to make it right again, but I didn't want to hear that. I told him that I was going to turn 18 in a year, so I was already pretty old now, and I had my grandparents to take care of me, so if he didn't want me in my life he could just say that, but he had to make a choice now. He tried to tell me that it was not that simple, that he had to discuss these things with Emily as well, and he was obviously very upset with her. He was beyond livid regarding everything that she had done, but he had to at least talk to her, so I got really upset, and since I already had a couple of things packed because I thought that I was going on that trip, I just grabbed my stuff, called a cab and headed to my grandparents' place. My dad tried to stop me from leaving, but I had already given him an ultimatum, and until he chose me I was not coming back. I had made up my mind about that, and there was no changing it no matter how much he tried. So currently I'm staying with my grandparents, and they know the whole situation, and they told me that I can stay with them for as long as I want. They are my mom's parents, and I do see them quite often, and even they are pretty upset with my dad right now. Although they had tried to have a good relationship with him after my mom passed just for my sake, but now all that's gone, and my father keeps telling me to come back home, and he says that I'm not being fair to him right now, but I've made it very clear that as long as Emily is going to be there I want nothing to do with him. A couple of hours ago he told me that he can't just kick Emily out after being with her for almost 5 years. They have a life together, and it's not that simple for him. He expects me to understand that, but I don't get it, and I'm not sure if I want to get it because I think I've been very understanding for the past 2 years, but I'm sorry. I have to put my foot down at some point. I don't know, am I being unreasonable? Ida, for wanting my dad to make a choice between me and my stepmom? Hey everybody, thank you so much for commenting on my post. Thank you so much for all the support that I've been receiving. It's really overwhelming, and given my current situation I think I really needed that. I've been quite overwhelmed because of everything that I've been through in the past couple of days, but I think with the help and support of all my friends, my grandparents and my aunt and my cousins, I'm feeling much better right now. It's been a week and a half since my last update, and after I started ignoring my dad he started doubling down on his efforts. He kept telling me that I had to talk to him at the very least so that we could solve things, because not interacting with each other is not going to get us anywhere. But I had already made up my mind that as long as Emily was in that house I wanted nothing to do with my father. I had tolerated enough. I had dealt with enough. I couldn't do this anymore. I had also spoken to my grandparents, and they had already told me that I could stay as long as I wanted to with them. And as for the finances and everything, they told me they would take care of everything. Of course I felt a bit guilty, but honestly there was nothing much I could do. So even though it was quite difficult, I made up my mind that I was not going to go back to my dad or even talk to him until he kicked Emily out. She has been the bane of my existence for quite a while now, and she needs to face the consequences of her actions. And my dad has also let her do whatever she wants. He has never stood up for me in the past 2 years, so I think whatever I'm asking for is the bare minimum that I can demand as his daughter. To be honest, I shouldn't even have to demand that he should just do it as my father. But anyway, here we are right now. It's difficult. I won't lie about that, but at least it got me somewhere with my father, because last evening he sent me a text saying that he had spoken to Emily and she would be leaving in 2 days so that I could come back home. And he really wanted me to come back so we could at least talk things out. And it's fine that she's leaving in 2 days, but I'm still not going to go home until she's gone. I don't even want to see her. I don't even want to look at her face. Whatever I thought was going on when she surprised me with that trip, that's clearly out of the question now. I can't even believe that I allowed myself to be fooled for even that short period. But anyway, I've learned my lesson, and I don't want to be around that woman at all. I don't know what my father is going to say. I just hope that he doesn't try to defend her or anything, because if he does, then I don't see any way that I will ever be able to reconcile with him in the future. So far she had only been annoying, but what she did with the box and whatever happened on my birthday was beyond annoying. That was cruel. That was just her being horrible to me for no reason apart from the fact that she disliked me. And as my father, I think he has certain duties towards me, protecting me from people like this being the primary one. So if he thinks that he can give her a second chance, and if he thinks that I'm also obligated to give her one just because he wants me to, then he's mistaken. I'm going to talk to him, and if it appears he's not willing to let her go, then I'll be the bigger person and I'll let him go so he can live his happy life with Emily, but at the cost of his relationship with his daughter. But that is just the worst case scenario right now, and I'm still hoping that he will behave sensibly about the whole thing and won't allow his feelings for Emily to get in the way of doing what is the right thing to do. Because at the end of the day, he is my father and I do love him and I do not want to lose them. I don't want to do something that's going to be incredibly difficult for both of us, and I hope that he doesn't put me in a position where I might have to cut him off. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. That's all from me. Edit. Also, I can't believe that so many people wanted to know what exactly happened with my friend who had been feeling sick and whether I found the medicine box. Well, I didn't touch on that because I think I had a lot more on my mind, but eventually I was able to find the medicine box. It was actually in a different section of her closet. I found the pills that my dad had said to give to my friend and I gave them to her, and a couple of minutes later she decided to take a cab and go back home. So long story short, she's doing fine, for those of you all who wanted to know about her. Update 2. Hi everybody. So earlier today I met my dad and I went back home and spoke to him, and thankfully the conversation went a lot better than I had been expecting. In my previous update I think I had pretty much given up and had very little hope that we would be able to work things out. I thought that he was going to side with Emily and I thought that he was going to give her the benefit of the doubt or something like that, but as it turns out that's not the case at all. She had fought tooth and nail to make it seem like I was the one at fault here. That I was the one who had probably planted that box in her closet to make her look like the bad guy, but my dad had read the conversation between the two of us. If she truly had had no idea and whatever she was saying this to, if she truly had had no idea and whatever she was saying this to, that I had planted that box there, which was already pretty unlikely, because if that had been my agenda then I would have taken a couple of weeks instead of 2 whole years to frame her or whatever. So it was a bad defense as it is, and then on top of that her reaction to my message has been very strange if she really had no idea, because if she hadn't known what I was getting at by sending that picture to her then she would have just been very confused, but she seemed to know exactly what was going on. So my dad didn't buy it, and the fact that she had even tried to defend herself by lying about me was the last straw. He realized that he had been letting me down and he couldn't do that anymore just so he could be happy with Emily by ignoring all the red flags. He asked her to leave and she took her own sweet time. She kept fighting with him, but eventually she did go away, and now my dad has promised me that he's going to make it right. He has told me that we can go to therapy together. We can try to sort things out with the help of a professional, and he promised me that he's going to be a better father to me now. It was pretty emotional. Both of us ended up crying, but in the end I'm glad that we were able to sort things out. He's going to get a divorce now. He's already spoken to his lawyer and initiated it, and I don't know, it's difficult for him, but I'm honestly just relieved to see the last of Emily. I'm really glad that I won't have to see her or deal with her ever again, because I can't imagine anybody hating me so much that they would do the things that she did. So yeah, I think things went well with my dad, and I'm happy that he has chosen to make things right with me. Update 3. It's been a year and a half since my previous update, and a couple of months ago my dad's divorce with Emily finally came through. She tried her very best to get the kind of settlement that she thought she deserved, but my dad has a pretty great lawyer, so it didn't work. All she did was manage to drag the whole thing out, but at least it's over now. I know that the divorce got pretty ugly and my dad had a hard time with it, but he lived up to all the promises that he had made to me. We spent more time together. He spent more time trying to connect with me and understand me, and we also got therapy together, so I think our relationship is in a much better place right now, and I'm quite happy with how things have turned out. A couple of weeks ago I turned 18, and in a few more weeks I'll be leaving for college. I'm glad that we were able to sort things out to a great degree before I left, and I'm happy that we are on good terms now, and for my 18th birthday my father and I, along with my aunt and her children, did end up going to Mykonos because we knew how happy that would make me.